In this video, I'm going to reveal all my units and the key strategies that I used in the Valorous season of EpicSeven RTA, which ended in September 2023. This is going to act as a little time capsule for me to look back on, as well as hopefully give you some ideas on how to build your units. And know that my playstyle tends to be more aligned with finding the right picks and the right units to use in certain situations, as opposed to having like the most insane geared units, which will be very apparent very soon. And one other thing that I think is really important when we're talking about win rates and win percentages with the new EpicSeven tool, my overall win rate for the season was about like 46-47%. So anything above that is actually like overperforming for how well I'm doing. So just keep that in mind. Like 50% win rate is actually 3% win rate higher than how I do on average. So you gotta like adjust your brain. Okay, so I want to go through this by hero class. Warriors is going to be definitely the biggest one, starting off with Edward Elric. He's got very suspect HP, 1800. The pen set, super important to just make him do enough damage. Of course, Sigurd's Scythe for the lifesteal, and just create destruction set for some big damage. I've heard injury is the way to go. I just don't have it, so we got this going. He did all right with me, actually. Probably one of my higher win percent heroes at 61%. So when he's getting in there doing his job, he's doing it pretty well. And that's Ed. Ravi did not use Ravi at all. I just like her, so she's starred. Shu did not use Shu much at all, but because she's on Daydream Joker for my Nightmare Labyrinth. But yeah, I mean, like, she's okay. She got some HP. She got some crit damage. She got the pen set for that big boy penetration, 70%, plus the pen set is like 85%. It's like defense wear, so that makes her really good against defense scalers like Arya or most importantly Lionheart Sirmia. I probably should have done that a little bit more in the last couple days because Lionheart Sirmia is everywhere. But she actually did pretty well with me. Picked her about 14 times with a 57% win rate. So when I did pick her, she did well. Probably should have picked her a little bit more then. Lethe is kind of in the same boat of like, used to kill Captain Landy's, Lionheart Sirmia's, that stuff like that, except mine is scuffed on revenge set with HP set with not that much HP and not that much effect resistance, and holy moly, it shows with a 37% win rate. So I gotta get better at playing this character, get her some better gear, figure out the better spots for her, but she did not do what I wanted her to do when I needed her to do it. I think a lot of it had to do with picking her into units that, like with Arrowell, where they had the escort or the Aureus, and like it just, my HP wasn't quite there to get the damage done. Maybe it's because I don't have a plus 30 artifact, whatever it may be, but she is just she missed some key kills occasionally. She gets really controlled easily, so that's kind of rough. Okie dokie, Remaroki. So she actually did terrible for me. I thought she was the clutch goddess against cleave, against aggro for me. I drafted her quite a lot this season, but I also lost to aggro like and cleave so much. I didn't have a solid strategy. That was one of the things that really just kicked my butt this season. I didn't have a good strategy against. Rem was nice because they ban out Karina a lot, and I just need a blue unit to defend against Jacko. She did not do that well against 40%, but it might not be her fault. Maybe because the rest of my whole plan kind of didn't pan out. We got Alencia. This is my Lethe killer. Let's see how she did. 50% win rate. Booyah, let's go Alencia. Did her job 50% of the time. I imagine the 50% of the time she didn't do her job was because Lethe wasn't on the field, or it just thought they had a bunch of HP scalers and like, oh, my Alencia is just gonna injury them to death, and then it just didn't work out. I also had a lot of issues with Alencia in the beginning of the season because I just picked her as like solo carry, and my Alencia at the time, I think this one slightly changed since then, but like maybe I didn't have pen set. I wasn't using the damage EE like I am now. And it just didn't do enough damage to solo carry. So like I boom injury a Ravi, and then she wouldn't die, and then I'd be like boom, she's not dying, and then a Ravi would end up soloing Alencia like in the late game when they like injuries kind of matched out better. So definitely more success with Alencia in the second half. Okay, Rimuru got some play. I was kind of experimenting with him, drafting him into Emma Landy because he's got the pop. I think he's got that like 10k fixed damage against Lionheart Sermia, who's my next character. And I think it did okay. I mean, it ended up being a 40%, but my Rimuru is a little scuffed with, you see, with this 78 gears and whatnot. I really used to like to use him as anti-aggro. Like, I would trap people with Rimuru and Ed against Ran. So then they do the AoE, and then Ed pops things, and then Rimuru comes in, and the skill modifier is not on Ran anymore, so Rimuru can one shot. And then I had Blue Comet, and then you boop boop, and so Rimuru just kind of jump up super far, and then I'd be able to take it at another unit. But I guess I wasn't doing that this season. I haven't been playing that style of Rimuru lately. And my Rimuru's, I mean, I think that 5% damage I'm missing on the crit damage neck really just prevents me from killing a lot of Rans. Lionheart Sermia, this unit was all over the place, and I did pick her quite a bit, and she did reasonably well for me. Let's be honest, she did reasonably well for me. This is a weird build, right? Destruction, Golden Rose, I heard that's the way to go. That's what I did. I got high F-res because of my resistance set, which meant she didn't really get stunned or locked down once I got the res buff up, because it's 150, pretty solid right there. But she did really well. I just did big damage, 349 crit damage with a lot of defense. And you'll notice the base speed. So this was actually because I had her on speed boots before, but what I had an issue with the speed boots is that she was kind of slow, like 160, 170-ish. And what would happen is she was just fast enough, like if my opponent's playing Conqueror Lilius, which is where I'd pick Lionheart Sermia a lot, Conqueror Lilius would go, and then she'd be like, I'm doing nothing, because they just use their skills, and then they go, and then my Sermia would go, and then Conqueror Lilius would go with the dual attack right after, and then I have to wait the whole thing again just for her to go. So what I did is I slowed her to base speed, so Conqueror Lilius will always lap my Sermia, and on Sermia's first turn, she's always just nuking people down with just insane damage on this build, which worked out very well for me. I was digging this character before Captain Landy came out, and then Captain Landy came out, and I basically stopped picking her. And it was bad. It was 37% win rate. The Little Queen, I really actually enjoy this character a ton. Picking her a ton. And this build's okay. I used to have her on immunity, and I swapped to effect resistance to be like, oh, maybe I'll get the 50-50 on hand guys, because they do the attack down and whatnot, strip attack buff, whatever that may be, and it never ever worked. So I should probably put her back on immunity. I had a lot of issues too against things like Sharoon and Lua. They would just reset her once, and then she's like does nothing, and they just sleep, reset, sleep, reset, sleep, and like she just never gets to use her S3. That happened a lot to me later in the season. So I think I'm probably gonna switch to immunity, back to immunity at some point. But I mean, it's okay. When she gets her job done, she gets her job done. Just maybe pick her too often into bad spots, which is why she had a low win rate. Apocalypse Ravi, I barely picked this character, and she never won for me, and you can see it with a horrible 30% win rate. Oh gosh, this build probably has to change. I use it as an anti-aggro build, anti-cleave build, but I just felt like she just gets blown, like Jacko just blows her up, Stray just blows her up, like Emma Leica just blows her up, like she doesn't live through anything, which is kind of like it's kind of frustrating. But I'll have to play around with her next season, because like I said, I had really struggled with cleave and aggro, and so one of my goals for the next season is to just lock down my anti-aggro plan, so that I have a game plan that I feel like is pretty solid, because this season it was not solid, and you can tell, and it really hurt me on the last week. Dark Corvus, obviously didn't use him. designer a little bit. Used a little bit, not a ton, I think. But I think she did her job when I needed her to. Sure, her build is kind of weird, kind of like it's just kind of this damage build. I saw someone using Nostalgic Music Box. Sorry, I don't remember who it was. Someone on KHM's Discord. It's pretty okay. I should maybe have like just a DPS artifact on her or something. Something give her more sustain. Golden Rose, but I only have one. This was okay, but I did win every game I picked her, which was one. So let's go to that a little bit. Got that one win in. Inferno Kawazu, I put gear on him. Like I said, I have speed gear, so I thought I would try this counter build out, which I think is okay with his S1. But I really didn't have this kind of built in time, so I only played him a few games. It's just like mess around, try him out. And he went 50%, which is like, it's like okay, but like 4 games isn't really enough to know how good I think this is. It's probably not very good, but like I'll plus around with it more. I think the problem with him for me is that he doesn't do enough damage to one-shot through mitigation like Aureus, and because I always start off slow, usually my opponents are picking mitigation as well, and so then he doesn't get the one-shot, and then he kind of is a little useless. And so my last warrior is Meteor Cowrick, who is one of my most common played heroes this season. This build I've been rocking. I think it's pretty solid. Like it just eventually I had ER in the past, like 100 ER, and then I thought, like, you know, he's getting lapped around a little bit too much. Let me just make just zoomer fast Meteor Cowrick on counter set, because I like my counter Cowrick. And you know, good HP, yeah, okay defense. Like he's got a lot of weird stats going on, but like he's fast, he's got counter. I'm pretty happy with him, and the 50% win rate is pretty solid for me. So I'm pretty happy with that. I probably should have picked him more, or like there might be better ways for me to use him, like just really juice him out a little bit more, or just like get this 82 gear equipment score thing off my, you know what I'm saying. I could improve him a little bit more as well, but like the 19 speeder and the 19 speeder, like that's going to be hard to replace, to be honest. So that's it with the warriors. Let's move on to the knights. This is like one of the backbones for this account is the knights. Ross, I didn't play him really this season. Maybe played him a little bit in the beginning, but not really. Charlotte, apparently I played a little bit. I didn't think I played her like at all. I played 3 games with her, 33% win rate. It didn't do very well. I've been thinking about using her more because she auto crits for like ML Landy, but I had ML Landy banned for most of the season, so it's kind of like meh. I might give her another shot if ML Landy is just like still as popular, but like she used to be great against like Landy, Spectre Tenebria teams, but a lot of those people are taking Last Rider Crown now, and I really don't like just slamming AoEs into them. Although towards the end of the season, I just was like, actually, I can just use so much AoE that he can't keep up. So you know, some things changed. Iliana, I love her, but I didn't use her. I actually just revamped her gear, so hopefully I'll use her next season because she da waifu. Karina, mostly pre-banned when I wanted to use her. When I did use her, it did not go well for me with a 26% win rate. Yikes. And this is what I was saying. Like, I'm pretty much only picking her into aggro, and I'm losing like all of those games. It was a rough season for me. Crow has no gear, so obviously didn't use him. Armin, maybe I should have used her more, but I felt like a lot of times where I wanted to use her, like people would pick Ran, and I really like to just cheese people with the stuns on her S1. Like that's like what I think of her when I think Armin. So if they pick Ran, I'm like, okay, I can't get the stun, maybe I won't pick her, but I might need to change things up in my brain a little bit because she would really reduce. She got 30%. 20% damage reduction for single attacks, which really is going to help against Jacko, who's like, you know, Jacko cleave is really common. Zeo is going to reduce his damage a lot. So even without the stun, like the big boy AoE damage on the counterattacks might be enough. Christy, not used. Senya, probably one of my MVPs. I love this unit. Used her a lot. Great for anti-aggro, great for anti-evasion. I actually really struggled with evasion, so that's another thing that I've got on my mind going to next season. Aiden is still going to be popular. You know, people pick Rylet a lot against me for whatever reason, and so I need more answers to evasion. Senya was my most common one. Had a 49% win rate with her, which is like, she went about even for me. I can't super complain about that. I would like to swap her to immunity. That might be my next project. I might use like the R10 and gear crafting on her to get her on immunity. Reason for that is like I'm thinking about shifting my account a little bit more to have more built-in Lua counters. So like protection set and things like that. Protection set with immunity to protect against Lua. I think Senya would be great for that. It would just help out so I can keep like Conquer Lilius banned or whatnot. So thinking about some new strats for next season already. Bellion, she did her job when she did her job, kind of 48% win rate there, and much lower than apparently the league average was 55%. So my Bellion is slacking. So I gotta figure that one out. Maybe I can use her more aggressively. I remember I was watching I'm2's Patrick's guide about Bellion. He said he uses her a lot, even like not just like anti-aggro, anti-cleave. So yeah, trying to figure that out. I was thinking about swapping her to more ER because one thing that I was started to do was take her when they had ML Leica, or like preempt them picking ML Leica, and so then I took away the souls, and then I would leave ML Leica up because the rest of my team had high ER, and then ML Leica couldn't, like, she didn't have the soul burn, so she just like had to target like Bellion essentially, or like she just get resisted on the target, and then she's like kind of useless. So that's a tech that I'm thinking about doing. We'll see if I actually do it. A Crimson Armin. I'm pretty sure I didn't play this unit at all, but I could be wrong. Maybe at the beginning of the season, definitely not in the last couple weeks, like the last month. I don't think I used this unit at all. It just kind of a slow. I used to have it on counter for funsies, but I just wanted more bulk, so I switched it to like health ER. And 36% win rate is not a good showing for Crimson Armin. I do have plans for her next season. We'll see how well they go. I want to put her. I just finished like a super ghetto protection set, so that will be good. That's going to be like my like anti-Lua tech, I guess. So that's the plan with her. Hopefully it'll go well. Last Rider Crown. This is my main man, my main tank. Lifesteal, because it seemed funny, honestly, and it did actually pretty well, I thought, because he heals maybe like 5,000 when he hits the whole team, and so he's like, if he's just acting as a damage sponge in like a slower game, which is usually what I'm going for, then like he's essentially got like 32,000 HP, which is great for like mitigation. So I thought it worked out pretty well. He did reasonably well for me. Basically was first picking him like all the time. So this, Last Rider Cow, because he's basically matching my win average at 48%. Just because I picked him like every game, obviously, and 300 games with this bad boy. Yeah, it's gonna be pretty close to my average. Arrowell, I used her a lot on the last game. She was actually on Holy Sacrifice. So that back really quick. Bada beep, bada boop. She was originally on Helag Lance because I think it's really funny that she gets 20% CR when you don't attack her. And I got some people with just like they wouldn't use skills on Conquer Lilius, and then they dual attack someone else, and then she gets 40, and then I just stun someone, I win the game. Doesn't happen very often, but pretty funny. Switch to Holy Sac to do anti-strays maneuvers, because like I said, I was dying to that a lot the last game. I think next season, as you saw, I'll probably put her on Adamant. I'm seeing a lot of people that I'm trying to like mimic their playstyle a little bit, or like see what I can take from them using her on Adamant, and it's like, it's great that she can revive, but it's kind of better if like people don't die. I think the stats are okay. Counter is like kind of the same reason as the Helag Lance. Like if they attack her, I want her to be able to counter attack and boost up. She also gets like 1,000 HP back every time she uses the S1 because of her skill tree, and it's just like it's the same idea with Last Rider Crow on lifesteal. Like over the course of a game, I'm gonna get more S1s, and it's gonna give me more healing, and that's gonna like make her absorb more HP overall. So I feel like I'm going for the long game here. I also want her to get on immunity because she'll give herself a barrier, so then she'll be like kind of Lua proof. I really didn't like picking her for a while because like I can't ban both Conquer Lilius and Lua, and I can't take either of them unless I make some degen builds, which I'm thinking about. So like she just go up there, she she lose her escort, and then I just get run over. But I did end up having a lot of games with her, like 160 and 48% win rate. So it's kind of about the ballpark of where I'm at. Makes sense if I'm like kind of units that I'm first picking are about there. Phyllis, nope. Troublemaker, nope. And that is it for the Knights. Let's get some thief action going. Winter, I love this unit. I love Winter. I love Espa. Let's go. And she actually did really well for me. There was a moment in time, I don't remember how, I should have made some notes, where she was just crushing it. Like I would win like solo DPS winter games, like, and overall 50% win rate. You know, it's a slightly higher than average. I think I could have picked her better in some spots, but overall, like, really happy with her and how I did with her, especially just her being one of my favorite units. I goofed my artifact selector, so right now she's on Storm Sword to just help me get the boosts up, because I'm not, like, she's only 250, right? Like, this is my fastest unit, and so, like, I just want her to be able to cut up, like, after Conquer Lilius, after Alua, and just make sure I get my stun, get in front of things like, I don't know, Architect Leica or whatever. Like, I just want to get my stun in. It's really important. But I'm thinking about changing it up. This is why I messed up my artifact selector. I'd like to put her, or at least try her, on Goblet of Oath. Okay, so this is what Goblet of Oath is. So because she uses the non-attack skill on her, like, passive, I believe, I haven't actually tested this, but I believe it'll, like, reset it. So, like, for, like, one turn. So she should, like, always kind of, like, it should be really easy for her to always have the passive up. That's why I wanted to do that, but I just kind of goofed my artifact selector. And dude, this Kayron, he did his job when he needed to do his job. 53% win rate, higher than the league average. Let's go, Kayron. I did find that, like, a lot of good players, they've got ways to play around Kayron now. So they'll use, like, strays, and they'll time it so the S2 will knock him into his knock him to, like, activate his passive, and then it will strip. So then you just, like, lose your buffs. So sometimes when he seems safe, he's not safe. I think the better artifact is, like, potentially the double-edged crescent, which is why I have another one, which I'd like to put on him. Just, like, more chances for counterattacks. Like, this guy, like, lives or dies by the counterattacks, and sometimes you don't get them, and so I'd rather just get more counterattacks. But, you know, the extra damage on the S3 when he's at low health is, like, it's kind of nice for guaranteeing that kill. But very, very happy with the Kayron. Let's check out Celine. Also, this unit also did amazing for me. 54% win rate. So when she found her spot, it was good. I like to use her a lot against Pirate Flan because she's forced to activate me. Just like a bunch of damage, and like some bulk, just to get her to live through, like, some general assaults. I find, like, it's not too hard to live through if they're playing, like, if they have, like, Pirate Flan and Conquer Lilius. If they have multiple activators and some that they just can't avoid from using, it's not too bad, because, like, Conquer Lilius pulls Pirate Flan, like, that's not really doing much to you, along with me always taking Aureus. Makes her, like, a little hard to kill. I know there's bulkier ones out there, but she's great. She looked great in the swimsuit. What can you complain about Violet? Man, this guy used to be a menace. I remember when he was a menace. He's no longer a menace. He's a 33% win rate. That probably, you know, I basically didn't pick him the last month, except for maybe, like, 1 or 2 games where, like, my person went, like, Ran, Para, Ida, and I'm like, okay, I will just ban everything, and then Jacko crits me and I lose anyway. So yeah, he didn't really do well for me this season. I stopped picking him pretty quickly. I also got a lot of losses racked up on him because it took me a couple games to realize that Luas were resetting him, and then he couldn't dodge. Oh boy, oh boy. Savior Auden, though the Queen. This unit, one of my top pick units, 10th most used unit, 44% win rate. Obviously didn't go well for me. And this is kind of related to the whole aggro situation. She was one of my, like, anti-aggro units. She was built on a super anti-cleave. Basically, I pick this unit, and I hope they press Ran S3, and then I usually one-shot their team. Which is very funny. But it doesn't always work. Sometimes she gets hit. And like she just got hit a lot the last week, and she wasn't doing it. She wasn't doing the job that I needed her to do on that last week. So that's a little bit unfortunate. You know, what can you do, right? What can you do? I might consider moving her to like the tankier version that I've seen like a lot of people play in like the E7WC, where they're like living through Zahawks and stuff. I'm like, damn, that's cool, but I don't know if I can get those stats. So right now she's just living as is, as just like a pure DPS degen build. I have won some more standard games with her where like they just kind of it's kind of weird because they'll be too scared to touch her even though she has like no HP. And then when they like finally like get around to it, like the frenzy is so high, she's just like she's like half healthing people, one-shotting like Conquer Liliuses and stuff with S1. It's insane. So I got to get better at using her. That's something that I'll practice next season a little bit more. And the build's like, okay, it's funny. I like funny builds with Sumi. Remnant Violet. This guy is probably way too slow for what he needs to be doing. But he's just got big damage. He got the lifesteal. And sometimes he just, you know, solos. The problem with him is kind of the same problem that I was having with Arrowell, but like to the max, because I can't play him into Lua and I can't play him into Conquer Lilius, and I'm seeing those every single game because since Captain Landy got released, I have to ban Captain Landy, and then one of those two is coming through. Usually I'd ban Conquer Lilius because Luas are like not as common, but then all the Lua players showed up in the last 2 weeks. So yeah, that's kind of the Remnant Violet spiel. All right, before we go through the last 3 classes, let's talk a little bit about the sponsor. It's Your Health. So get up, move a little bit. We're going to grab a little bit of a lunch, a snack. You can come along and make that with me real quick, and then we'll get back to the account. Today we're just doing a simple lunch. We got some leftovers we got to eat. So just scooping up, loading up some rice. Here in the microwave, we got some ground pork and string beans, otherwise known as siji dough, but with way too much ground pork. Ratio is way off on that one. In the future, I'd like to do some recordings of me actually cooking, but today we gotta keep it quick. We're gonna pour some of this in, and then oh wait a second, that's a lot of grease, a lot of oil. Don't want that, so let's scoop it in with a spoon instead. Try not to eat too much of that oil. It makes it yummy, but we probably don't want to eat too much of it. Alright, and then I was gonna eat this little oatmeal thing, but y'all being here, you know, prompted me to get some oranges instead, so thanks for being there. Okay, we're back. And let's get into the Rangers. Seaside Bologna is on a super weird build for Nightmare Labyrinth, so I didn't use her at all. Landy, this build was okay. I didn't really use it that much, I don't think. I kind of theory crafted this against, what's his face? Death Dealer Ray, who I didn't see that much because he just puts up so much buffs on your opponent's teams that like you just get an S3 after S3 after S3. And with the new Wall of Order, which I just like happen to have a bajillion of, you're gonna get that greater attack buff pretty consistently, and she's just gonna heal up to full. And like it's so funny just to like, oh, I almost got this Landy down, I almost killed her, and then she just heals up to full off one S3. We've got really high defense to like synergize with the barrier that the Wall of Order gives you, and like it's just fun. It's a blast. It actually did really well for me overall at a 54% win rate. So whatever is working with this build is working. I think I could try to utilize her a little bit better in some areas. So we'll have to figure that out. I've heard people are using Landy a lot against the ML Landy, which I didn't really try out. But yeah, that might be a thing to try for the upcoming season, so I can take Landy out of jail and get Conquer Lilius or AOL back in there because I really need them in there. Pirate Captain Flan may be actually an MVP for me this season. I absolutely love this character. I love her design. I like Flan a lot in general, but Flan is not usable for me because I'm a slowpoke. And this Flan is barely usable for me. I mean, look at this gear. Oh, gosh. Oh, no. Ugh. Oh. This is not like your typical, this is not the best pirate Flan you've ever seen, but when she does her job, Oh, she does her job well. 52% win rate for me, almost 53% win rate. Just tank it up, stun them down with the effectiveness, and she just takes over the game. So there was a good segment of time, like towards the end of the season, where I just like, if I don't see any sort of cleansing in the top three, I just slam Pirate Captain Landy, and she just goes to town. It's great. It's wonderful. So really happy with this unit. Happy to use her, and probably gonna try to utilize her more because I realize I just want to play the units that I like a little bit more than I have been, instead of trying to like chase the meta. So Mages, Mercedes. This is I didn't think I used her that much. She was kind of like an anti-Spectre Tenebria. Like if they pick Spectre Tenebria Landy, I like to pick this unit because she's just like big damage, blows them up. I didn't use her much against aggro because I feel like a lot of the aggro these days is like Ran, Para, not Ida, not so much lately, but there's like enough blue units like a mid, a flan, or like you really have to pray on the 50-50 to like have her like win those ones. It's kind of like what happened with K-Run a lot too. But I played her apparently in 13 games and lost most of them. So yeah, might have to rethink how I'm using this character a little bit. But let's move on. We got Milim. She was amazing. I started picking her a lot towards the end of the season because they pick like Yule. Like I think she's mine at least. I think is great into Yulha. Just the miss and the damage reduction for being like a green into red means like she's really hard like for Yulha to deal with. She doesn't get stripped by Sharoon because Sharoon has to hit her to reduce the buff cooldown. So like I feel like it worked out pretty well for me towards the end. But in the middle of the season, in the early season, I had like a really bad time with her, which kind of tanked her win rate down to 38%. So it's like not great. And she's also just like kind of awkward against certain things like Conquer Lilius or Peyra. Like, and obviously I'm not very fast, so she's got to be tanky. And she gets a lifesteal. Sometimes it just comes down to how many times she counters. And without a plus 31, it's kind of suspect. So I've seen some like builds that are like on the knuckles, but they're like destruction set, so just like packing in as much stats as they can. They're like super tanky. So I might try that out. That seems kind of interesting. But this build's like been working great for me. I especially like when she hits the passive skill, or like being able to heal when she hits S3 is really important for me because if she doesn't, sometimes like she doesn't get the next turn. And yeah, so it's kind of tricky, but I've been really enjoying this build, and it served me reasonably well. But obviously, the 48% means, or 38% means I might need to switch some things up. I got my D-Gen Politis. This is like a effectiveness check on other people. This actually, I think I changed this because I wanted to make a different character better. So it's not true to how it was during the season. I was actually at 200 effective resistance, which I think is like where this one comes from. I just ignore it. And 210 speed because I found like if I was lower, I was actually lower on counter set for a while, and she was slower and she wasn't really working that well. And then what happened was I was like, okay, what happens is she's too slow to get in front of some DPSs. And so like if they just didn't press skills, she was like completely useless. So by upping her speed a little bit, that allowed me to then use her so that she'd go in front of like DPSs like Spectre Tenebria, even if they don't press skills. And like that's really, 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 really important. So I did use her like reasonably. I kind of gave up on her because she was, I don't know, like the problem for me was like she wasn't really doing enough even when I did pick her and they did press the skills, and like it would shut them down. Like sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. So she had a 40% win rate. So Sierra Ren is kind of funny. So we're gonna get a little mathy here. So Abyssal Crown is like 25% to stun at max level, right? Sierra Ren is 50% chance to inflict any of the 5 debuffs. So that's decreased hit chance, decreased attack, silence, sleep, or poison. And I really don't care about poison. So it's something like this. This is like fake math that I don't know is real, but it's about like 40% chance to hit like an effect I care about. So right, I'm so bad at like quick probability, but basically like I would be really happy if it hit any of these debuffs. And so it turns out that like the chance to hit any of these debuffs is slightly higher than to hit a stun on Abyssal Crown. And the reason for that is a lot of times where it's like, okay, I'd like to be able to hit a debuff in between an extra turn, like Conqueror Lilius. Like maybe I want to like sleep her. I could silence her so she can't provoke. I had games where like Zahak did his thing and then got blinded and then failed to kill. So there's a lot of things like that, or like attack down, where I feel like it comes into play, just having a little bit of extra chance to proc the debuff. But obviously not like sleep is probably the only one that's like just as good as stun. So you have like a lower chance of getting probably like an actually good effect. But I just wanted to hit debuffs. That was the thought there. Carrot, I really want to use her because she thinks she's good against Landy. But she's kind of like stuck on this like suspect build for Nightmare Labyrinth, just like my SSB. Arya, used her a decent amount during the season. Not so much at the end. I felt like she was really weak at the end. Overall had a 40% win rate for me. I kind of bounced back between two like artifacts. So like I like Time Matter because it like just more damage is great. And then reducing the skilled cooldown is kind of nice because there's a lot of times where like if they like last through her thing or like whatever, then she like needs a couple turns to get it back. But with the Time Matter, like I can keep the uptime and just like make her even better solo carry. But I used to have her on Bastion of Hope because I'm not super comfortable with 100 effect resistance, because when I was picking a lot of LRK and stuff, like Arrowwell's coming through, and like that's why I didn't pick her. I was really scared of Arrowwells because I feel like they can just strip her and then she's useless. AOL didn't really pick her, obviously. I mean, you can tell from this gear, right? I did not pick her. She was locked in jail the whole time. It's a bit unfortunate because like I don't really like playing her that much, but I do quite like Angelica. It's what it is. Sylvan Sage Villian, I think this character was like not good in the last couple weeks, but before that, she was amazing. She's like, I had a combo pick versus people who picked a Ravi and Steny, which was Belly and Sylvan Sage. That worked really, really well for me. She's on Symbol of Unity because I saw some post in like some Discord that was like, a lot of times you're going against Aidens, or like they just happen to come up in your Sylvan Sage games, so it's great to have the hit chance, and it was true. It worked out a lot. I think she was pretty solid, but like towards the end it didn't go well, and I think it tanked her win rate down to the 35% that it is on my hero battle logs. But I quite like this unit. But I think she just was like really awkward to use towards the end when I like had a lot of different pre-bans going on, where like she can't kill Steny through AOL when AOL managed to get out of the jail, so she just like ends up being kind of awkward sometimes. Artemis Shadow, I love this unit. This is like probably my favorite unit, question mark. It's like ever since I finished the first story in EpicSeven, I was like, I want this character, and then they finally released her, and I got her, and my Archdemon, probably one of the best units I have geared, and she does well for me, 53%. That's 5% higher than everyone else that's using her. So I feel like I'm doing something right. And I just really enjoy this unit. Counterset's the way to go. The reason I have effectiveness on is because I feel like effectiveness is the best for fighting the counters that she usually has. So like sometimes like AOLs, they would have effect resistance, and so I can just pop them. Or like you have things like Karina, you have things like Lethe, which are built on effect resistance. But if I can seal them without needing to soul burn, then like that just ruins it. So I actually used her a decent amount against my opponent's Lethes towards the end of the season, because I just be like, okay, I can seal you, and then you can't provide omens on me. What are you gonna do? You know, it's so it worked out pretty well. Immunity is great to keep her on because like I said, I'm probably gonna, well, she's also good against like Lua and things like that because she doesn't care about skill reset, so I used her a lot into there. But it was tough because there's so many ways, like it's really tricky to play her because I need AOL locked away. Ambitious Tywin's kind of annoying, but you can seal him, and if you have the effectiveness, you know, you can do that. Rowanna's annoying, but with effectiveness, you can seal her. Servia's annoying, but with effectiveness, you can seal her. So a lot of it is like these units that like kind of counter her. Like it just if I can seal them without having a Soulburn, it's kind of nice. The bigger issue is LRK, which is kind of why I pick him a lot. And Hand Guy, Meteor Coward, who puts up immunity. So like once they have immunity, she's like really tough to do any damage because of like the way that she's built with no like, she's not built on the crit damage build, which like would care less about immunity. But this one cares less overall about her counter. So that's why I like it. Enough rambling about my Amaru. The last mage we have is Spectre Tenebria. She used to be on pen set, which was okay, but I swapped her to immunity set the last like weeks or so, and I felt like it really helped because I was getting like, she was just like, I couldn't pick her into a Pirate Captain Flan because she would just get debuffed. Like it was just hard to pick her into things because she would just get debuffed. She ended up being okay for me, 42%. I think I won a lot more games in the last week or so because of the immunity, as opposed to the pen set, because also like you think that I'm going for longer games, so the pen set is like only really useful on the first turn, and like I'm just not, I guess immunity is the same way, but I don't get like ruined in the first turn as easily, whereas like pen set, it's like, okay, I'm probably not going to kill on the first turn anyway, and so the pen set doesn't make that much of a difference in that long game. That is my mages, and the last one, the Soul Weavers. This is like this is my favorite class. If I could play double Soul Weaver, I would do it. I would try to do it more. I just haven't quite figured that out. I'd like to play around with Shuna some more. I do have a build I want to try with her, but I didn't use her. Yen is built for PvE. Didn't use her. Elena, I wish I used her because she's also one of my favorites. I love this costume. I love this skin. It's great. I found out that people were using her a lot after the season. I wish someone would have told me so I could put this gear on her earlier, but it is what it is. So my Amelia, when she did have gear, she was 12%, played 8 games, only won 1 of them. You can see why I ungeared her. I think she like has a place in this meta, but the problem for me is like I would kind of use her to like try to like out tempo other slower people, but it just didn't work for me. I don't know. I'm just not an Amelia expert, so I'll have to try it again later because I think she's pretty solid. I really like a lot of Amaryllis just to like get healing going. And because I don't have a lot of attack buffers, it's kind of nice to have more attack buffers. So yeah, that's what that is. Destina. This would be so much better on speed set probably, but you know, that's the Banshee life, baby. She's on immunity because I played against a lot of Fliticas. Oh, so many Fliticas. I got PTSD from the Fliticas, and I said, you know what? I need this immunity because you won't be able to strip me, and then you can't soul burn to ignore my FRES and then ruin my Destina's day. This is like my second pick almost every single game. So that's why she is on some of my best gear. Of course, 48% win rate. That's about my average. That's what happens when you play a unit 300 games. And yeah, so I love my Destina. Probably going to keep continuing to play her throughout the next season. Ocean Breeze Luluka. This unit, I feel like I used more in the last couple weeks than all. She is still a little slow, so she wouldn't really cut a lot of the really fast aggressive teams. And if I did want her to cut, then I couldn't put her on Guardian Ice Crystals, and then I'd pick her, and then the game would end up being slower, and then she'd have like no sustain, no nothing, and it's like I just need some heals. I just need you to do some heals, something like in the long game. And I think I might actually swap her to something like Celestine, because she already has Ice Cream buff, which is like after being attacked, she regain life. But I got into a lot of situations where my unit that I really need to keep alive is already low health. And then so like they get tickled a little bit, they're gonna die. So in those situations, I need Luluka to be healing before they get hit and not like after they're already dead. So that's something I'm thinking about. Overall, I think it's a decent build, but I might move it back to like, I might move this onto something like Amelia if it makes sense, just because it's like a fast, high FRES, with so many debuffs coming around in this meta. If that sticks, then like Amelia's good at just getting rid of them. So something to think about. Rowana is Rowana. She does her job when she gets picked, or she's a force ban. I'm on the classic 75. Yeah, this could be better, but you know what? She does it the thing. Ruel basically never picked this unit at all. you know, I used to really enjoy her, but she's just not quite it this meta. So that's my account